you'll find out that he says the Nazi and the Ruti, which is the West African or the East African, created the Tamahu. Now, here we have first-hand archaeological evidence. You see, Champollion later dies, and you can get a part of this book, if you read this book, starting from chapter 3 on into chapter 10. Diop talks about it, but Diop doesn't allude to it. He just said that Champollion is very disgusted with what he finds in this tomb. It really bothers him because whatever it is, his people are known as savages. And it really bothered him. To get the book, he goes into it. This is Diop, African Origins of Civilization, Myth or Reality. And he goes into this thing, and you can get it from chapter 3 into chapter 10. But he says that the Nazi and the Ruti, or the Root, created the Tamahu. Very interesting, because we're talking about basically the Africans, the black man, created this mutated, grafted white man. Now, it's interesting about Diop. Diop explains it, and he puts it in there for further study of who picks it up. But remember, he's married to the beast. So therefore, he does not go out and just all out say. He could say it. Now, we know this man is graphic enough to kill the white scholarship in the Western civilization. But yet, he holds back on this pertinent piece. Because if we know he's created by us, then we know that he's not human, because hue means color. And we need to check the origin of these words. But so he has problems with that. So he goes and conjures up this whole other theory, too great a theory or whatever, of the white man being mutated in the Ice Age. Well, if he's mutated in the Ice Age, that's funny. Just like Gloria Peace said, now here's a black man that travels up to Europe, mutates in the Ice Age. And yet we got some people that say of a lighter hue, which is still an original people. What you say, these are the real people that adapted by climates, or the other people you see around the world, not the white man. They go up, an Indian type that's coming from the Bering Straits, from Australia one time, coming and mutating in China to what you have your Chinese type or your Asian type, coming over the Bering Straits, coming into America, populating America. This is your Indian. Another group of Asians come in, populate with them, and this is how you get your Indian people. At first it was an Australoid type people, more on your Australian type. The Australoid. Then you have another type that mutates into China, comes into America, populate with them, and this is how you get this whole American Indian, indigenous American, because Indian is for India. We all understand that. But here's a people that's an indigenous American, goes up into Alaska and makes a culture and ain't mutated yet in Alaska. And here's some people that don't mutate in the ice or whatever you want in Alaska, but yet we got a blue-black African who did live all around the world. We got a blue-black crusted African, blue-black. Gods at the time, because all pineal glands is open, we'll get into that. Gods at the time go up into Europe and can't take the ice and mutate. But yet we have this person in Alaska that not only makes a culture out of it. Not only does he live in the ice, he makes a culture. You understand? But yet we have the black African, who is the personification of culture. Go up in the Ice Age and we come out with this beast. It don't go that way. The world don't go that way. You see. That's what we're going to prove here today. But anyway, he had to conjure up this because, number one, he's trained by the white man. He's in the white man schools, because we understand all the schools in Africa, the chancellors and all of the system that they're under are either under the French system or under the British system or under some type of Islamic system, white Arab system. So therefore, if they write some stuff that's going to pass to be printed in books, that's going to be passed as scholarship, and all the time when they do this, they got to work this stuff in so it's pleasable to the white man. But we know this is not to be the case, because he knew in his Tamahu story, he knew enough about this. And even in the end of the chapters, you just got to have to study this book, because I can't point out where it is. In the chapters, he says that he has read Champollion's, I think it's 13 letters he writes back to Champollion his elder brother before he dies, explaining all of this stuff about this mutation of a man he's known, and obviously they explained in the temples what this person really was, and he was very upset about it. Diop reads these so-called, they call them the bas reliefs of Biblium El Maluk and Temple of Seti I. He reads these things, and now that means that he knows everything there is to know about this stuff. Because it's funny, because in another part, we have them, Libya. Libya, at an early age, if you trace the culture, it's only populated by the so-called Tamahu. I said, now that's strange. That means that it was populated by the Tamahu who had an early culture, but yet the white man mutates up here and is in barbarism, but he has enough sense to come down in his barbaric state and take over some black people. It don't make no sense. Then we understand that we have in Kemet, with Menes, or normal as some people say, goes in and he has to liberate upper and lower Kemet from a barbarian, mainly these Tamahu. You see, it's a lot of holes that's missing in the history, and a lot of people are confused about this stuff. You see, did the white man come and see? Was the white man in the caves, caves and hills of Europe as a barbarian? Then what is this man doing down here, fighting? Now you have if you can get the papyrus, you can get it out of the book, Ewalish Budge's book, From Fetish to God in Ancient Egypt. Budge's book, awesome piece of work. All black people should have that if you want to know some stuff about Egyptian mythology, as well as the massive stuff. It's only $9. You can get it at the Sphinx, or you can order it. In that book, that papyrus, there was I think it's called...
Ivanov was right on at least one count. Chimpanzees are almost 99% genetically identical to man, and would be the best animal to try to breed with humans. Experts believe that man evolved from the same evolutionary branch as chimpanzees. Gorillas and orangutans evolved along a different branch, making interbreeding between chimps and people the most likely.
Of today is actually someone that I refer to as the Neo-Neanderthal, or who he's now calling himself Humanethal or Humanthal. He's now actually adopting a euphemism around what we've been speaking about, and of course what it is that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had spoken to us about, and the myth of Yaqub and the whole 9 yards. And a lot of people, a lot of my students who had viewed that videotape of the tape I did, where I showed that the sons of Esau and Japheth, those who are breaking down the codes of the Bible and so forth, coming up and speaking to the fact that I believe it's in Genesis 25 and 25 when they speak about Rebecca having a child, and the first one who came out, who was supposed to serve the younger, the older one serving the younger. The first one who came out was red, and his whole body was a hairy garment. In other words, he was covered with hair. So you figure that the redhead, essentially the red-headed entity, straight-haired entity, was exactly what it is that the scientists today are now classifying as the Neanderthal.